He was the Prince of Soul, a man whose voice could seduce a nation and heal a broken heart. Yet behind the velvet suits and the sensuous rhythm lay a soul tormented by demons he could never outrun. Marvin Gaye's story isn't just about the music. It is a Shakespearean tragedy of biblical proportions. It is a tale of a father and son locked in a lethal dance of love and hate. The man who sang about sexual healing would die in a pool of his own blood, killed by the very man who gave him life. The nightmare began in Washington, D.C., inside a cold house ruled by poverty and discipline. His father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was a paradox, a minister of the house of God by day, but a domestic tyrant by night. The church was the first address for both music and fear. Marvin witnessed a confusing secret: his father's hidden world of cross-dressing. This shattered the boy's perception of masculinity, planting deep seeds of confusion. The brutal beatings were routine, creating a cycle of violence. In this house of horrors, his mother Alberta was the only sanctuary, his protective angel against the storm. Music became his escape route, leading him from the church choir to the street corners. He knew he had to leave to survive. The journey to Detroit was not just a trip, it was a pilgrimage to the city of dreams. When he arrived at Motown's doorstep, he met Berry Gordy. Marvin didn't want to be an R&B star. He dreamed of being a jazz crooner, but destiny had a different, funkier path waiting. Before he was a frontman, he was the heartbeat of Motown, playing drums for legends like Stevie Wonder and the Supremes. But his ego was as big as his talent. He fought against the machine, refusing to be boxed in. His first hit, Stubborn Kind of Fellow, was autobiographical. It was a declaration of his difficult nature. He then blurred the lines of business and pleasure, marrying Anna Gordy, the boss's sister who was 17 years his senior. He was now Motown royalty by marriage. Then came Tammy Terrell. They were the prince and princess of Motown, creating a magic that the world had never seen. Their duets, like Ain't No Mountain High Enough, were not just songs. They were conversations of pure love. Although their bond was platonic, the onstage chemistry was electric and undeniable. They finished each other's musical sentences. Marvin had finally found his equal, a partner who understood the rhythm of his soul. But this golden era was destined to end in tragedy. The fairy tale shattered on a Virginia stage. In a moment that haunts music history, Tammy collapsed into Marvin's arms during a performance. The diagnosis was a malignant brain tumor. As she slowly faded away, Marvin was consumed by a crushing survivor's guilt. He asked the universe, "Why is she dying while I live?" Her death in 1970 broke him completely. A massive part of his spirit died with her. He retreated into the shadows, refusing to sing, and began a dangerous dance with thoughts of suicide. The silence was deafening. He went into seclusion, wrestling with a deep depression that threatened to swallow him whole. Detroit, once the city of dreams, now felt like a cage of ghosts. He needed to escape the memories. The move to Los Angeles was a desperate bid for survival. There, he reinvented his sound and his soul. He shifted from the conscious observer to the sensual lover. The release of Let's Get It On was a cultural shift, sanctifying sexuality and turning passion into a religion. In the studio, a new muse appeared. Janice Hunter was only 17, but she captivated the superstar instantly. It was a forbidden love, a passionate affair ignited while he was still married to Anna. Janice became the air he breathed, inspiring his rawest, most erotic work. But this intensity came with a heavy price. The affair triggered a brutal war with Anna Gordy. The divorce process was ugly, sparking a financial crisis that would haunt him for years. He was trading his stability for ecstasy. The high life turned into a nightmare. Cocaine stopped being a recreational fun and became a terrifying necessity to function. He was earning millions, yet he was broke, bleeding money into settlements and drugs. The IRS began a game of cat and mouse, hunting him for unpaid taxes. He went from living in mansions to living out of a bread van in Hawaii. It was a humiliating fall from grace. Despair took the wheel, leading to a suicide attempt by overdose. Miraculously, he survived, but he was broken. He needed to vanish. Marvin fled the United States, escaping the taxman and his dealers, first landing in London before moving to Ostend, Belgium. This sleepy seaside town seemed like an unlikely place for a soul legend, but it offered him the anonymity he craved. It was a chance to detox and reset. He met Freddie Coussert, a Belgian promoter who became his lifeline. Freddie didn't just manage him, he protected him, offering a space to heal away from the toxic pressures of the music industry. Life in Ostend was simple, a stark contrast to Hollywood's chaos. Marvin began morning jogs along the cold North Sea and returned to local churches, seeking spiritual grounding. His body began to recover from years of abuse. The fog of cocaine lifted, revealing the artist underneath. In this quiet isolation, the creative spark returned. He wasn't just fixing his body. He was trying to save his soul. The rhythm of the ocean replaced the noise of his past, and he started to hear new melodies. Out of this piece came sexual healing. It was more than a pop song. It was a desperate plea for wellness, written over a reggae-infused beat. It marked a sonic departure, embracing the electronic sounds of the era. The resulting album, Midnight Love, was a masterpiece of synthesis. When released, it conquered the world. Years after his prime, Marvin won a Grammy, a victory that felt like redemption. He had climbed back to the mountaintop, proving he was still the king. But tragedy often disguises itself as duty. His mother, Alberta, fell ill, and Marvin felt the pull of home. He made the decision to leave his Belgian sanctuary and return to the US. It was the beginning of the end. The sexual healing tour should have been a victory lap, but it turned into a parade of paranoia. The demons he left in Los Angeles were waiting for him. He was convinced there were plots against his life, seeing assassins in the shadows. The cocaine use returned with a vengeance. He surrounded himself with bodyguards and an arsenal of weapons. He wore a bulletproof vest, terrified that someone was out to kill him. The drug-induced psychosis warped his reality. He moved into the big family house in Los Angeles, a decision that placed him back in the toxic orbit of his father. It was a pressure cooker waiting to explode. The father, Marvin Sr., was consumed by jealousy. He couldn't stomach his son's success, viewing Marvin not as a star, but as a rival and a sinner. The tension in the house was palpable. In a twist of dark irony, Marvin gave his father a gun as a Christmas present, ostensibly for protection. It was the instrument of his own destruction. Marvin's mental state deteriorated rapidly. He began speaking of death, telling friends, "I wish someone would just kill me." He was courting the end. The drugs made him erratic and aggressive, while his father drank heavily. The two men were on a collision course, fueled by decades of resentment. The morning of April 1st, 1984, began with a mundane argument over a missing insurance policy letter. Voices were raised. The shouting match between his parents escalated. Marvin, protective of his mother to the end, intervened. He shouted at his father to leave her alone. The confrontation turned physical. For the first time in his life, Marvin struck his father, kicking and punching him. It was a breach of the ultimate taboo. Marvin Sr. retreated to his room to retrieve the gift. Marvin Sr. returned with the .38 caliber Smith & Wesson. There was no hesitation. He pointed the weapon at his own son and pulled the trigger. The bullet pierced Marvin's heart. It was a hit to the vital organ that had given so much love to the world. Marvin slid to the floor, his life draining away on the carpet of his childhood bedroom. The Prince of Soul whispered his final words, realizing the prophecy had been fulfilled. "I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I made him do it." He was pronounced dead at the hospital. The timing was a final, cruel joke. It was one day before his 45th birthday. The news sent shockwaves across the globe. The man who pleaded for peace in What's Going On had died violently at home. Motown legends wept openly. At the funeral, the music world mourned not just a singer, but a visionary. His father, the architect of this tragedy, showed little emotion. The courts gave him a light sentence for voluntary manslaughter due to a brain tumor. The legal conclusion was as hollow as the loss. Marvin Sr. received probation. He lived out his days in a nursing home, a ghost of a man who killed a legend. Did he feel regret? It remained ambiguous. The house of God had become a house of blood. The violence that started in Marvin's childhood with whippings had culminated in a fatal gunshot. The cycle of abuse was complete. The father who brought him into the world had taken him out of it, just as Marvin had feared his whole life. Marvin Gaye left behind more than just headlines of a tragic death. He left a legacy of music born from deep pain. His songs were his diary, his therapy, and his prayer. From the joy of Motown to the depths of addiction, he sang his truth. Today, his voice still resonates, smooth and haunting. He showed us that even the most beautiful souls can be broken, and that sometimes the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. The prince is gone, but the healing power of his music remains eternal.